obviously you've heard about our church here, right? There's nothing like that. This is the world's largest, mainly LGBT church.
Female sex relationships are not addressed anywhere in the Hebrew Bible. Hey, lesbians, the idea of homosexuality is not known in the Bible. Not because homosexuality is wrong, not because we care that you're having sex with a young boy.
Love is love. But what is love? And how does the Bible define love? The world will tell you that love is love, and it really doesn't matter who you love. Over the last 20 years, that message has been hammered into all of us through commercials, news media, and even our favorite shows.
Thank you all for being here on this happy occasion. They say the best marriages contain just a little bit of magic.
Initially, this was really meant to normalize gay and lesbian love, but it didn't stop there.
I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age.
Many people were sounding the alarm, saying that this is a slippery slope and this is just the beginning of kind of the eroding of the moral fabric of the United States, what we're really based on with our Judeo-Christian values.
The governor says she is ready for this weekend's Pride Parade.
Looking out at all of you, I see America.
The next thing that happened was a push for gay marriage, where you had the state now telling the church how they had to view marriage, an institution that the church was really responsible for historically. This had never happened before. The church had been left to do what they thought was correct for recognizing marriage in a religious perspective, and the state was recognizing marriage to make sure that people had equal rights. Once this became the law of the land under Barack Obama, we really thought everybody was going to be happy, and that was going to be the end of this push, or at least we hope so.
The justices ruled 5-4 that states do not have the right to outlaw same-sex unions. The High Court also ruled that all 50 states must recognize same-sex marriages performed in other states.
But then, very quickly, what started out as LGB became LGBTQ. You had people like Bruce Jenner, who was an Olympic decathlon champion, becoming Caitlyn Jenner and winning the Arthur Ashe Courage Award in 2015 for it.
I competed hard, and for that, people respected me.
You had Bradley Manning, convicted of espionage, becoming Chelsea Manning, and was given a sex change while in prison, paid for by our tax dollars. This trans movement was really just getting started. Trans influencers across social media started showing up in places that were unexpected. We started seeing more and more openly trans individuals being elevated to positions of power and influence for seemingly no other reason than they were trans. And then, by 2024, there were 73 genders. 2025 and President Donald Trump could not arrive fast enough. President Trump campaigned on many things, but one area that he focused on specifically was rolling back these radical views. The left absolutely hated it, as evidenced by this pastor's speech after President Trump's inauguration.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives.
Trump moved very quickly to undo the damage done by these radical gender ideologies through executive order. It started off with only 2 genders. There are no trans in the military anymore, no pronouns in email, no men and women's sports, and dismantling and doing away with DEI. Look, these are huge wins, but this really is just the beginning. If we want to change people's hearts, we have to go beyond public policy that can just be changed by the next administration if they see fit. And since the Bible is always the best place to start, I wanted to look at what it has to say about LGBTQ issues. and really ask the question, does the modern church stay true to what is found in Scripture? When you don't teach the truth in love, you leave a void that will be filled with compassionate people, willing to twist Scripture to fit their own ideas of what God should be. We sent one of our journalists undercover into one of the largest gay churches in the country to hear from them specifically how they justify their position on homosexuality and trans ideology and square that with the Bible.
Loving Creator, Holy One, and Diva of the world.
Does the modern church stay true to what is found in Scripture?
May your word shine upon us like glitter under the stage lights.
We're hoping to offer a little balance to all of the hateful rhetoric that's out in the country, and especially coming from churches and from politicians.
We are creative beings. It's just in our core.
When you don't teach the truth in love, you leave a void that will be filled with compassionate people, willing to twist Scripture to fit their own ideas of what God should be.
You're a drag queen and you know, blow a kiss.
Senior Pastor Neil Thomas called this a part of a growing persecution of drag queens and transgender people in the U.S.
What was going on back then should not be influencing what we're doing today.
Rip out one page of Scripture and tell me what truth you have lost.
Things that pertain to heterosexual people, but in our modern era, we ignore it.
Religious communities today often hide their prejudice in the name of religion, and we're here to show that we support and love the LGBT community, particularly our trans and non-binary siblings.
Someone who's gay is attracted to people who are the same gender as them.
So when we talk about homosexuality, that is not even a thing anywhere in the Bible.
Tell me what doctrine is no longer included in the Bible.
It's a different style of worship.
To tell someone that they can't be what their imagination tells them they can, that's a violation of what's sacred about us.
This radical ideology is making its way into one of the most sacred institutions that we have.
Whenever the Bible mentions Sodom, homosexuality never appears to be a cause of the destruction.
So make sure that you know the truth and that you speak the truth in love. We already knew that the LGBTQ community was making inroads in government, in big corporations, and some of the protocols they had, and even in our schools.
So obviously you've heard about our church here, right? The way that we approach it here is we really try to create, as much as possible, kind of a genderless school. Everything at school is for boys and girls. So our children play with everything. They talk about everything. At one point we had very strong, masculine little boys who loved painting their fingernails. Whatever my own values are and that, I'm still in a context of Dallas, Texas, right? Sure. My friends, they live up north and in other areas which are just, it's so much Vermont, you know, it's a lot easier there. They could do a pride parade with their kids or that. Mine is much more subtle and accepting here, even though I'm in the context of a gay church. I'm very subtle. So gentle, subtle, safe space. So whatever all these little micro moments that your child has where they might be wanting to do something or say something or identify themselves or express themselves in different ways that might be different from what's traditional, it's just kind of accepted. So I started going to the trans group here and listening to their stories. And I asked a lot of questions about like, well, what was your childhood like? What were the messages sent to you? So I could really be thinking here, how do I create a space so whoever this hasn't come out yet, I know they're already going to feel safe when it does emerge. So we have kids that dress up. They can dress up in whatever we want. We do a fairy garden tea party at the end of the year. Everybody dresses like fairies or gnomes or whatever. You do whatever you want. And I'll kind of show you that we're really into like storytelling and having fun, and that's really kind of put into our curriculum. This was a real beautiful Sunday school space that he always saw, had a vision in his mind. How cool would it be to have an early childhood center at this particular church? There's nothing like that. This is the world's largest mainly LGBT church, although now they're branching out into more. But what I have found is there are a lot more open people here that want their children to be raised in this type of environment.
That's horrifying, and that's bad enough, but we really had better pay close attention to our churches. This radical ideology is making its way into one of the most sacred institutions that we have. The LGBTQ community calls the most prominent passages of the Bible that deal with homosexuality or homosexual acts the clobber passages, because they say these are the passages